Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and for bringing the subcommittee here to our valley, the valley that we love and we raise. And Mr. Chairman, it's good to have you back always. I have been involved in these issues, as has been noted, for a few years, even before I had this Arctic blonde hair you're looking at. And you know, one thing that I think is true is that water in California has always been complicated and controversial, and some people want to reverse the order. Controversial and complicated, it's both. And clearly everybody here in this hearing, I believe, views, as I do, food a national security issue, and we understand the critical importance of investing in our infrastructure that has allowed us to do what we've been able to in California. Invest in our infrastructure for decades through generations. Having been involved in a whole host of issues back to my days when I chaired the Senate Ed and Water Committee in Sacramento, to the last 18 years, we've had progress in areas with the intertie that has moved hundreds of thousands of acre feet. We've had progress in getting reset in 2014. Senator Feinstein and I and others on the biological opinions that need to be implemented now. And I appreciate some of the testimony to that point. And that President Trump signed in 2019 in the authorization. But the fact of the matter is, it's hard. All of this is hard. I mean, you add up the additional water supply that we need in raising San Luis Reservoir, building sites, Los Vasqueros, Del Porto, and all of that would add up to a significant amount of water, over 2 million acre feet of water. And if we had that today, we'd be in a much better position. We also need to look at improving our water corridors, and I'm glad that that was mentioned earlier about the efforts on the canal bills for the Frying Kern Canal that we're currently rehabbing, the Delta Mendota Canal, and the California Aqueduct. Let me get to a couple questions here, because I think that we have a consensus that we need to fix our broken water system. We need to create sustainability that we don't have today. And currently, you know, I told Ag Committee hearing we had 2 weeks ago, we had extreme droughts, and for 3 years we prayed and we prayed and we prayed for more rain and snow in the mountains. And in the last 3 months, man, I guess we prayed too well, because we certainly have gotten the rain and the snow that we needed. But now we don't have the capability of handling this with the extreme droughts and the extreme weather conditions. Mr. Phillips, you talked about the lack of coordination with the different groups, and you've worked very hard with others here on the blueprint. Can you give a quick description, because I want to ask some other questions, on the water blueprint for fixing our broken water system here in the valley?
Yes, thank you, Congressman. And the blueprint is a coalition of water agency representatives and farm representatives and community representatives with one mission in mind, and that is unifying behind what the San Joaquin Valley needs to have all the water to avoid having to rely on groundwater overdraft.
Quickly, can the federal government play a role with the additional funding that we provided recently here to advancing these projects identified in the blueprint?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're working with the east side, west side folks to figure out where we can put that funding to the best use?
And that's critically important, yes.
Mr. White, you've talked about the Los Banos detention dam in your testimony, and you talked about other efforts. What's the status of the project, and how long is it going to be to fulfill the goal of getting the most out of this?
Yeah, Los Banos Creek Detention Dam is currently going through its closing of the environmental process, and we will be in construction next year, Congressman.
Mr. Bordeaux, you talked about the efforts that Westlands is undergoing on recharge goals and a host of other areas. Can you highlight on how much Westlands alone, along with many of the other water districts that are focusing on water recharge, and now we have water to recharge, how we can best do that?
Well, we're putting incentives in place to try to get as much water into the ground as possible. I think currently we're putting 1,000 acre feet a day into the ground, and we're trying to find innovative ways to get caught up, because there is a lot of water, and I do think our goal is to try to either farm with it or recharge the aquifer.
No, it's a real opportunity, not just water districts, but farmers as well.
And there is on-farm recharge. We are allowing that. And
Right,
so
and
it's happening as we speak.
And the waiver of the 215 areas with the permit process allows us to go forward on that. We need to take advantage of the opportunity while they're here now. Mr. Chairman, my time has run out, but I want to thank you, and I'll submit the other questions that I have. Mr. Forgood, I'm glad you talked about the Seaborn project that we want to get over the finish line, and a lot of work to do, and your purpose here, thank you, highlights our efforts with the community that we got to work together. It is complicated, it is controversial, and food is a national security issue that we all, I think, engender and we care about.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. And with that, we